You're going to die. Not someday in some faraway, abstract sense. Actually, really, you. And most people spend their entire life running from that one sentence. They fill every silence with noise. They fill every free hour with a screen. Not because they enjoy it, because the second they stop, a question rises up from underneath everything. Have I actually lived? And that question is so heavy that most people would rather scroll for 6 more hours than sit with it for 6 more seconds. But here's what nobody tells you. The fear of death is not really about dying. It is about arriving at the end and realizing you were never fully here for the beginning. That is the real terror, not the ending itself. The possibility that you slept through your own life. So let this be the 6 seconds you never gave yourself. Because what you are about to hear will change the way you spend every day you have left. There is an old idea that most people misunderstand completely. It says that a person only becomes fully alive once they stop pretending they are permanent. As long as you believe you have unlimited time, you treat your life like a rough draft. You keep telling yourself you will start next month, next year, when things calm down, when you have more money, when you finally feel ready. But readiness never shows up on its own. It only appears after you have already accepted the deadline. Think about the last time you actually finished something important. It was probably not because you suddenly felt inspired. It was because a deadline was breathing down your neck. Death is the deadline behind every other deadline. And the moment you stop pretending it is not there, something strange happens. You stop wasting time on things that do not matter. You stop rehearsing conversations you're too afraid to have. You stop waiting for permission to become who you actually are. This is not a call to be afraid every single day. It is the opposite. It is a call to be awake every single day. There is a difference between living in fear of death and living in awareness of it. Fear paralyzes you. Awareness sharpens you. A person who is aware of their own ending does not waste energy on grudges that will not matter in 10 years. They do not spend their one life trying to impress people who will forget their name by next winter. They stop postponing the version of themselves they actually want to be. Now here is where most people get stuck. They hear all this and assume the answer is to become obsessed with death, to think about it constantly, to turn every single day into an anxious countdown. But there is another path, and it comes from a completely different direction. Instead of staring straight at the ending, some people learn to stop fighting the natural cycle of things. They watch a leaf fall from a tree, and they do not ask why did it fall. They understand that falling is simply what leaves do once their season ends. There is no tragedy in it. There is no injustice in it. It is just motion completing itself. The same people who reach this understanding stop treating their own life like something being stolen from them, and they start treating it like something they were lent for a while. And when you see life as something borrowed instead of something owned, you stop gripping it so tightly that your hands shake. You start living with open hands instead of clenched fists. This is not weakness. This is the deepest kind of strength there is. Because gripping tightly out of fear is exhausting. Living loosely out of trust is peaceful. Two very different paths. One says wake up because time is running out. The other says settle down because you were never in control of the clock to begin with. And here is the secret nobody tells you. You do not have to choose only one. The people who seem most alive borrow from both. They move through their days with urgency because they know the clock is real. But they carry that urgency without anxiety because they also know the ending is natural, not cruel. That combination is rare. urgency without anxiety, awareness without despair. That is what separates a person who is truly living from a person who is simply avoiding dying. Look at how this shows up in ordinary life. The person who is only afraid checks their phone at midnight and feels a jolt of panic about everything left undone. The person who has only accepted things drifts along and lets years slide by without ever pushing themselves toward anything. But the person who holds both truths at once does something different. They set the alarm early because the morning is not guaranteed. They also fall asleep at night without dread because they know they are not in charge of the ending anyway. They apply for the job they feel unqualified for because urgency says, do it now. They do not fall apart when the answer is no, because acceptance says the outcome was never fully yours to control in the first place. That is the balance almost nobody teaches you growing up. Nobody sits you down in school and tells you that the two feelings you have been running from your whole life, the panic of not enough time and the calm of accepting the ending, were never actually enemies. They were always meant to work together, one pushing you forward and the other keeping you from breaking under the weight of your own expectations. Most people only ever learn one half. They either burn out chasing everything at once, terrified of wasting a single hour, or they give up entirely and call it peace, when really it is just quiet defeat. The real work is learning to hold both hands at the same time, the hand that says move now, and the hand that says you are allowed to rest, because you were never in full control anyway. So ask yourself something right now, not tomorrow, not after this video ends. Right now. If today were somehow your last day, would you be able to say you actually lived it? Or would you still be waiting for the right moment to begin? Most people spend decades waiting for a signal that never comes. The truth is brutal but freeing. There is no signal. There is no perfect moment. There is no version of you that is finally ready. There is only the version of you that decides to stop waiting. The people who look back on their life with peace are not the ones who avoided pain or avoided risk. They are the ones who stopped postponing the things that mattered. They made the call. They wrote the letter. They said the hard sentence out loud. They chased the thing everyone told them was unrealistic, not because they were certain it would work, but because they finally understood that certainty was never coming, and waiting for it was its own quiet kind of death. You do not need an answer to why you are here in order to start living like you mean it. You do not need to solve the mystery of existence before you are allowed to feel joy, chase purpose, or love someone fully. Meaning does not arrive first, with permission to live following behind it. It works backwards. You move. You choose. You show up fully for the people and the work in front of you. And somewhere in the middle of that motion, without announcing itself, meaning quietly arrives. Think of it like learning to swim. Nobody figures out how to swim by standing on the edge of the pool analyzing the water. You figure it out by getting in, feeling the cold, and moving your arms before you know what you are doing. Life works the same way. You do not think your way into living fully. You act your way into it. And every day you delay is not a neutral pause. It is a choice, even if it does not feel like one. So stop waiting for the fear to disappear before you act. Stop waiting for clarity before you commit. Stop waiting for permission that was never going to come from anyone but you. The clock was never your enemy. It was your reminder. And the fact that you are still breathing right now, hearing these words, thinking these thoughts, means you still have time to answer the only question that has ever actually mattered. Not why do I have to die, but what am I going to do with the fact that I am still here today?